Greetings and welcome to another excellent chess video. This is a game I played, and I'm going to show you how it went and how my dad's rules apply to this game. This will help you, if you pay attention, to play better than you're playing. So let's go to it. All right, first move, there we go. D4, D5. Queen's Gambit set up. Here we're going to play Colle system or Colle-Zukertort. This is a Blitz game, 3 minutes for each side. So I'm just giving you the heads up. Whatever you see here, this is happening at a relatively rapid clip. All right, book move, knight f6, bishop d3. Get the bishop on the best diagonal. You know, where does this bishop belong? It belongs on d3. Now, one of my dad's famous rules. What's he trying to do to me? What he's trying to do to me here is e5, supported by this knight. Pawn takes, knight takes. He's attacking my bishop. So we're not allowing this. It's just a simple matter of what's he trying to do to me, and let's anticipate and stop it to the best of our ability. No more e5 today, sir. Now, he can play bishop b4, which is what he does. But the thing he gives up to play bishop b4 and then e6 is that he cannot play c7 to c5. He has to go out of his way to do it. So nothing is free. Simple. Block the bishop's attack on the queen. Don't move the queen. Move your piece to its best square. We're going to castle and then free this knight in a different manner. So, what are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? One of my dad's famous phrases. Because my father taught me to play chess about 1969. And the 60s was the decade of Bobby Fischer. All right. So, e6, we anticipated this as being his plan, as I mentioned to you earlier. So now, what are we going to do? Well, the other thing we have to look out for, he could have played knight to b4, and I would just played bishop to e2, c3, kick the knight back, etc., etc. It's not that big of a deal. All right, just throwing that out there. So here, what we need to do is consider replacing the knight with a knight, if he wants to do that. Now, again, if he wants to play knight to b4, bishop to e2, we'll just kick the knight backwards. Not a big deal. He goes backwards. Very interesting, but not the move I would say is the best move he could play. But he's looking to challenge my bishop on d3 with this move, bishop to g6. This is the upcoming move. Oh, well, sometimes they just can't help themselves. So, as my dad would say, what's he trying to do to me? The answer is clear. Knight takes free pawn. It's not defended because this knight blocks the bishop. So we have to defend this with the queen. We could defend with the king as well, but that's clearly dumb. We got a castle, all right? As my dad would say, don't be fancy. You don't like this. What do you think the right move is? Wow. It wants to retreat the knight to f1. Let's check this out. Really? It doesn't want to not retreat the knight. It wants to do this. Very bizarre. Okay. Whatever you say, dude. That looks like you're getting fancy. The computer can get fancy because the computer does things that humans don't do as well. And that is brute force long-range calculation. You must learn to play your own game. And my own game says, and it was built by my father, all right? Don't be fancy. Why would I play e4 and all this other goofy business? I can just simply play queen e2. Is it objectively the best? Clearly not from the computer's perspective. But the simplicity of play sometimes trumps brute force calculation, which the computer does. Now, We're working on it. He's getting weird, and that's his problem, not mine. Bishop d6, a good solid developing move. He's not really threatening to do anything on e5 specifically. Don't be fancy. Castle. Remember, this is a blitz game. But the thinking here is the same whether this is, 40 moves in 2 hours or game in 3 minutes. We're going to play the most solid chess you can think of. That's the goal. Because here's a secret. You play solid, you win games. It's just that simple. So, get out of my house, you chump. All right? So there you go. H3, get out of my area. Knight f6 is the best move. Obviously, knight h6 is inferior. Clearly. If you place knight h6 here, threatening to go knight f5 and knight g3, king to h2 will stop that easily. So it's not really a problem. So now, what's he threatening to do? Well, the key thing about this formation is that e5 is a square that white seeks to occupy with a knight. So the only way to put a knight here is to give up the queen or to play g4 first. Logically, I'm showing you the thought process. Now, this is proven to be the case and proven to be true, and I've known this for decades before computers were explaining this. So this is going off of classical theory of this opening, g4. All right? So now bishop g6 is the best move he could play. He did it. Okay, fine. I have another awesome move that I can play. Knight to e5. Now, he doesn't like this, but I don't care. This is what you're supposed to do. Get a knight on e5. He takes. I take with the queen. Now, my queen is the light square bishop. Things don't go perfectly every time. Your opponent is trying his best to counter what you're doing. So that's what he's up to. Taking on e5 is almost always bad. The problem with black's position here is that he views the knight as the sword of Damocles hanging over your head, threatening to drop and chop your head off, okay? So he decides to take it. Now, clearly, knight takes is a super blunder because f takes and you pawn fork just 2 pieces, and he might as well just resign at that point. But he takes with the bishop. Now, again, the theory of this opening has been proven. You want to capture this with the f pawn. The guy was saying, it's going to double your pawns. Yeah, but I'm going to control those squares. F takes e5 is not an inconvenience for white. It is a superior point of strength. Eat this. All right? Now, computer probably thinks that D takes was a little bit stronger. I'm not going to try and beat this guy with brute force calculation like a computer will try to beat you that way. We're playing with known positional concepts, and f takes e5 is just devastating. It's easy to play, and that's one of the best things about it. Best move, clearly, knight d7. Knight e8, solid, but the knight's not going anywhere. If he goes to e8, look at it. He's got no future here. It's blocked. It's covered by my pawn, blocked. So knight e8 is clearly inferior. He plays the best move, knight d7. And always, as my dad would say, assume that your opponent will respond with the best move that he can find, and that it will be a good move. And if you can handle the good moves when they make moves that aren't good, you carve them like a turkey, all right? He played a great move. There's nothing wrong with that. The game is basically just a hair over even, but it's even between us. Now, here, this is one of the thematic moves that you want to play, is that we're going to remove this double pawn from e4 and just chop on d5, or he can chop and we'll capture with the knight. Because if he took this pawn, our knight being here would be very influential, gets out of the way of our bishop. It solves multiple problems. All right. Now, at this point, both of us have used about 30 a hair over 30 seconds. All right. So here, I can't sit there with knight on d2. He's not necessarily going to take it. So at some point, you have to make a decision. You have to look at the situation, go, how can I improve my position of my pieces? And knight to f3 is clearly the move. The computer has some other idea. I don't even know what it is. I don't even care, to be honest. This is a very super solid position. And in a blitz game, super solid is quite annoying, and it will be exceptional in your results because you have a position like this and it makes your opponent uncomfortable, which it normally does when you have this large pawn chain from b2 to e5. He takes, fine, I'll take with the queen. It doesn't matter. Still, nothing special going on. However, look at white has a space advantage, a semi-open file, knight and bishop to do some business. He's got a couple of knights that really do nothing. This knight on c6 can go to a5, b4, d4, and e5, blocked, d8, and b8. The prospects of this knight on c6 at this point are terrible. Now, he does have knight b6 and knight d5 as potentials. All right? f5. Mixing it up, as the saying goes. So, what are we going to do? I don't think we could let it sit there by moving the queen, because he'll get to play pawn takes g4, h takes g4, and this is getting a little air-conditioned, okay? So we don't really want to do that. Take by en passant. I could have taken on f5 as well. G takes f5 I think is inferior. He can simply play pawn takes, and he's doing fine. He can retreat this knight d8, and then knight e6 might be useful. So en passant is the way to go. That is the best recapture, obviously, because that knight had no other useful squares. However, notice we've transformed this pawn structure where he has 3 islands. Island 1, Island 2, and Island 3. We own e5 still. We're going to play bishop to f4. We're going to own e5 basically for the rest of the game within reason. Queen to e2, getting out of the knight attack and maintaining position on the file. We clearly, let's look at this. Well, queen e5 loses the queen. Queen e3 blocks the bishop. We need this bishop to go here on f4. Queen e1 blocks the rook from e1. So, by process of elimination, queen to e2, turns out it is the best move. Now the computer calculates this with brute force. I use this. Knight d5, we knew a knight was coming to d5. This is one of the advantages that this pawn being here has. However, one of the weaknesses, it has no pawns to protect it, and we can pile up on it. He does want to stop us from playing bishop to f4. So I play bishop to g5. How does it feel? And what's going to happen after this bishop g5 is that rook a to e1 is possible. We get to keep our rook on the open file, which is, on f1 here. Instead of playing rook f to e1, we're going to play rook a to e1. All right, you want to go there? That's fine. He's not really threatening to come in. He is, although technically, as my father would say, what's he trying to do to me? Queen to g3 check. This is black's threat. It's quite annoying and would win a pawn. So, gee, I wonder what move I might be playing. Well, queen to h2, king to g2 is also good. But he could play knight f4 check. So, I just go there. I'm not worried about a queen trade. If he wants to trade queens for an endgame, that's fine with me. My development is slightly better. Again, now we've both played a minute of time each. There it is, rook a to e1. I told you it was coming. And you could see this as a logical plausibility. And so it shows up not really as a surprise. White's position is a hair better, of course. Both rooks are placed actively, one on a semi-open file hitting the e6 pawn, the other one on the f file, potential for trade-offs. H6, what does that do? Now, it kicks the bishop. Bishop can go to H4, but knight can come to F4 if we do that. Or we can go bishop back to D2, and this bishop to D2 would be the domination position of this bishop over the knight. Whoops. So I chose bishop to H4 because if he goes knight to F4, I'm going to hit him with bishop G3. This one, the computer says, that's okay. He goes for it. I'm like, bro, I just told you. In fact, the computer is telling you, hey, look, he went to F4, mistake. You're going to play bishop to G3. I mean, that's what the computer would play. I was telling you, if he goes there, I'm going to play bishop to G3. Okay? Now, I have not gone through the analysis of this game prior to this analysis. So this is all new to me. In fact, I had forgotten I had played this game, so I'm just reading the defense as the saying goes. All right? So he did what I told you he might do, and I did exactly what I told you I was going to do if he went there. Now, you say, well, he could play knight to D3. Yeah, well, that's stupid. Knight to D3, rook to E3, and where does your knight go, Bobby Fischer? The knight's under attack. Okay, so now he's going to have to go like knight D5, which is fine, or knight G6. But I think knight D5 is the right move. What a moron. I'm like, bro, see this queen on H2? Look what it guards. It guards this. This is guarded by two different rooks on C1. The pawn guards B4, the pawn guards C5, the pawn guards E5. Two pieces guard F4. Knight F4, loses a piece, bishop takes, rook takes. Okay, well, he can't even do that. So, and I told you, if he goes rook to D3, this is a trap. Rook E3 is crushing. I played this move. Oh. I need to go back in time and slap my face. I don't know why in the game I didn't see rook to E3. Here, without any, it's just, I'm reading this cold without preparing for this. I told you rook E3 was crushing. And like an idiot, I did not play the right move. So that's my fault. Now, here's one of the things. When you do these games like this, it's okay to see these mistakes. What this mistake tells you is that this is an opportunity for you to learn to improve your game. Don't do it again, stupid. Okay, rook E2 was a mistake because I could have played an absolute winning move of rook to E3. Rook to E3 was crushing, okay? In fact, watch this. Let's go rook to E3 and look at the bar. The bar is going to go, pretty good. In fact, it's right there. Now, when I play rook to E2, the bar goes down because it's inferior. All right. He plays the right move. I don't know what this is technically threatening. And then it took me an extra move to do this. Fortunately, I realized I made a mistake in not going rook to E2, or it's possible that my finger slipped because I play this on a touch screen laptop. So it is possible that I was moving to E3 and the finger, slipped off of the screen at E2. That is a possibility. Because rook to E3 is an obvious move. Whoops. Oh, good Lord. Queen to C4 walks directly, as the computer's pointing out, to queen to E2. The pin. Devastation. And I've got double attack and he's got single defense. He's going to lose that knight. So he, dumps it off. Now, there's a trap here. Find the blunder and then don't play it. What's the blunder? Queen takes queen. He plays knight takes queen and his knight is safe. Well, I'm going to play queen takes free knight. That's how my dad would say it. Queen takes free knight. And then, what are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? All right. Now, he's staring down queen takes B7 as well as bishop takes C7. Life is bad, as the bar indicates over there, for black. At this point, he's just under 1 minute, and I'm also just under 1 minute left. We're both 50-something seconds, okay? All right. I'm going to take this free pawn, man. I'm telling you. Oh, no. I'm smarter than I thought. Queen to e2 is clearly the move. This is a consolidation move, okay? I have one apiece. He's wrecked his structure with b6. Look at the pawns. I have 5 pawns. He has 6. So he has 1 pawn for the knight. So this is a consolidation move. I'm dominating the semi-open file, hitting the backwards pawn. I'm threatening to trade queens with him because the endgame is just an ironclad win for white. If you can't win this position as white, you have work to do, son. Smartly, he does not trade queens. That would be a mistake. However, I get to hit this pawn, take this free pawn with tempo. Rook takes free pawn, and I'm threatening to do stuff to his knight, like queen to e4. That's certainly a semi-tempo. It's defended by the queen, but his queen is tied to the defense of the knight. All right, so let's see what happens. Smart, get off the white square diagonal so that my queen cannot abuse you. However, you're in trouble because I did exactly what I said I was going to do, queen to e4. Double attack. My queen goes to the optimum square for the attack on the king side, queen to e4, double attacking the knight. So he's got to move this knight or double defend it with like rook to f6. So let's see what happens. He moves it to a horrible square. What a genius. He probably should have gone knight to d8, but that's no bargain either. He's in trouble. Now what happens here, okay, well, let's look at it. What's he going to do to me? Knight to c4. Well, whoop-de-doo. Let's look at this. When you see knight c4, what does this do? He's threatening, or actually he's also threatening queen takes a2. This game will not be decided by the a-pawn being or not being there. We are, he's under 40 seconds, I'm under 30 seconds, but I have a raging attack brewing. It's not going to be an end game. Bishop takes c7. Okay. Very good. Kind of unnecessary. Realistically, I should have played a different move. I think bishop e5 is better. But it's very solid. Queen takes a2. Now I cannot play bishop to e5 because my rook would be hanging. This is what you have to see. In your mind, I see that you see that rook is hanging now. It's fairly obvious. Bishop d6. Let's tempo the rook. See where he's going to go. All right. Ooh, rook to g8. Super passive. So he's asking for trouble. I think rook g6 would be a nice move here because that's an open square that's undefended, but my rook gets to lurk. Oh, yes. I realized that I could play bishop to e5. Wasn't your rook hanging? I don't know. You tell me. If black plays queen takes free rook, what would you play as white? I hope you said bishop takes pawn check because that would win. All right, that would win his queen. So this is one of those great moves that you play because it's a great move positionally. Puts the bishop on the diagonal of the king, and it also contains a tactical trap. He can't take the rook because I will eat his queen with bishop takes g7 check. Something takes bishop, and then queen takes queen on e6. So this is a great move that will help you kick butt. And there's also another threat here. There's not just a tactical defense of this. There's another threat. See if you figure it out. Let's see, what did he do? He played knight to c4. And the computer points out the threat that I made. The threat of having the rook on e6 was that once this pawn was pinned to the king, anything that is pinned doesn't defend. That's a checkmate, sir. Doink. So let's go look back and see how these moves came about. I could have played directly bishop to e5, but it's actually I guess it's not as accurate. I like bishop d6 because rook to g8 is a very natural move, defending the king somewhat, but it walks into a mating attack here. And so in a couple of moves, but I took this pawn, he took my pawn. All right, boom, what have you. He said, I'll take your pawn. Yeah, I don't know. My pieces are hovering in the vicinity of his king. His are hovering along the A file. He has 4 pieces besides his king. 3 of them are on the A file. White is winning. Now, I'm also a piece ahead, but I'm winning by more than 1 piece. He's made in 6. What a freak. I don't know what the mate in 6 is. It's here. Bang, 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 bang. That's nasty. Okay, that's nasty. All right. Now, I would see this possibility in a tournament game. And then I'd go into tournament face and see if rook takes h6 was as good as I thought. So bishop to e5 is a tremendous, bishop to d6 is a good move, okay? Bishop to e5 is a tremendous move. It's absolutely winning. Now, when you're playing the game, you don't have an evaluation bar. My evaluation bar and yours resides here inside the head. But this is just so overwhelming potentially. Rook to g8, literally, I call these kind of moves sealing the pharaoh's tomb. He just locked the pharaoh in on h8. Notice the king has no legal moves. A check that cannot be blocked is a checkmate. And then I saw that bishop e5 allowed this tactic, and it's game over. So hopefully you guys got to see this game go through the different stages. And I'm telling you the things that my father taught me playing the game when I was a little kid in the late 60s. Literally the Bobby Fischer era. And it was just fantastic because my dad would say these things to me and he's taunting me. And it seems oddly cruel from one perspective, but the actual correct perspective is that he's giving me verbal jabs, okay, to the point, and this has happened over the entire decade of the 70s. And it made me essentially invulnerable to trash talk. Because if you have skills for real, you can tell me how great you are all day long. If it's real, it's real, and if it ain't, it ain't. So that was the thing about this game, is that this was a very smoothly played game by myself. I still think that rook to e2 was probably more of a finger slip on the screen versus a miscalculation. But it was several days ago, and I forgot specifically, so I can't swear to you that's what it is, but that's what it looks like. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game because it had a lot of good lessons that are real-world chess that will apply all the time. So I want to say thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you guys out. You learned something. Check out my other games, because the reason I did these things in this game that I did is because training. I train. And now I will mention to you, at the end of the game, I have 15 seconds. My opponent has 16 seconds. So the time pressure was never a concern to me because I trained for time pressure. And the way I train for time pressure is by doing Puzzle Rush. So keep that in mind. I look forward to seeing you guys in another video. I have plenty more videos you can check out if you want to get actually good at chess. If you want to pretend to be good at chess, all kinds of guys will help you do that. But when you're gone, what did you learn? That's the question. So that's great, and I'm going to add another section here for you if you stayed this long. Okay, now he's got an attack semi-brewing. He really doesn't have an attack on our king because he's got dark square bishop and dark square queen with no attack on the light squares. We're safe temporarily. Now, one of the things we're threatening to do here, this is a killer. It's a check. His king has no moves, all right? That's the first thing you should notice. His king's got no moves. Pawn, pawn, and knight guards this. So knight f7 check. What are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? See how it works? The forced move is rook takes knight. Queen takes a8 check. Ruh-roh. You're dead. It's just that simple. Okay. Well, what's the threat? The threat is simply when he stops checking me, I queen. He cannot stop it. So can I go here like king c7, king b8, king a7, bishop, king to a6? Decent. I have king. If I go king to e5, he's got rook checks, king either to, well, here's a checkmate. So king to f4, rook e4 is a checkmate. So king e5, rook checks, king d4. He could check me here, but he can always go back and get back there. That's not really helpful for him. So let's look. King here, e5, rook checks, king d4. He can play rook to e4 check. King goes to c3 or d3 is fine. He can rook check me if he wants. It's not really working for him. Here, if he checks me, I just go here. So he runs, see the thing I see is king e5, rook checks, king d4, rook to e1, rook to b1, and that pawn queens. It's over. So he he must have a checkmate here, rook e4 check. Let's just say king to c3. He's got a rook check. I can play king to b4 and you're toast. And here's the thing. Let me explain to you what my father taught me, if you don't know this already. My father says, "Oh, I see you have you have an extra white bishop. That's fine. I'm going to play on the black squares." Can't argue with him, man. Cannot argue with this logic at all. And you see this? This is how I know to play these moves like this. King to b4. What are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? My dad had another saying, know how to win the game situation, and that is queen the pawn. You lose. Thanks for playing, buddy. Okay, what do we have here? Do we have a nasty attack going? What does he have going against us? Really nothing. The gut reaction move for me, got to be careful though, is rook takes knight, pawn takes, and now his queen is there. So rook takes knight, pawn takes, check with the knight. Does that work? Bishop takes, pawn takes. He can't, yeah, he's toast. Because this is now threatening a checkmate. Bishop c1, we have queen to b4 check, and he's getting annihilated. He's going to go to the a file, and then queen takes a4 is check. He is toast, Ola. All right. All right, that's over. That was a great training session. This is just off the cuff. Fantastic.